Hello everyone and welcome to Greyhammer. The Tri-State Zoo is pleased to announce the arrival of its new cougar, panther, puma, whatever you want to call it, to the zoo. This is the state-of-the-art enclosure that the Tri-State Zoo was able to create through funding from an organization. Now let's get into how this was created. I don't have a time lapse or anything for this. This is very different than my normal videos that I've done on the channel. I'm trying something new to do more of a preview of this build and see kind of how this was built and kind of piece it apart with you guys. So let's first get to the exterior, where we have this is the vernal pools building. And like I said, it's funded by some organization, so I need some help in the comments. Go ahead and type down below what the name of the organization or the generous donor we should have on the name of the building. Lots of zoos do stuff like this, so I want to get straight into kind of trying to make this realistic looking. But if you couldn't tell, this is meant to be an Appalachian style habitat for the eastern cougar, which is extinct besides one subpopulation in Florida. So most likely the zoo got another subspecies of the cougar. But this is our staff backstage area. There's not much done there, I'm not gonna lie, but it looks pretty from the outside. The inside is just bare. I didn't have the inspiration to do backstage area for this one, so if y'all have any reference images, y'all can go ahead and join the Discord, that the link will be in the description, and send me reference images there. So let's talk a little bit about this fence here. This is designed to be a split rail fence, pretty standard in the Appalachian area. It's pretty standard in a lot of different areas, but it's just made through these, I guess I do need the UI for this. It's just made by different Indonesian stained timber beams rotated. I might put a workshop item for it, but I don't know if it's worth it. Let me know in the comments if y'all want to see a workshop item for the split rail fence. Because it is pretty easy to use. Then for planting, we used a lot of ferns, which is pretty common in the Appalachian region, and rhododendron, along with some of this tall grass. So rhododendron, I used the Cecropia tree saplings put into the ground mixed with the azalea, which is actually a plant related to the rhododendron. So it really gets you the proper feel for it. Now, of course, cougars are a very large cat species. And so with that, they are both agile and pretty strong. They are actually the fourth largest cat species in the world, behind the tiger, jaguar, and lion. And so we wanted to use this steel mesh, and we wanted the whole thing to be meshed over just to ensure that the species cannot get out. And so we use this Oceania netting turned a silver color. It works really well for this. It's a little bit of a pain to work with its irregular edges. And then we use the zookeeper cables and maypole pieces to kind of just give us this look of metal poles and wires sustaining the area. Now this is just one cougar, so we don't have a breeding pair, so there are a few small areas where maybe a cub could get out, but the adult cannot. And so once we enter the vernal pools building, we'd like to have a sign here that will have the organization name that formed this. And this is a chink and log cabin. So chink is this kind of concrete color, this concrete, and then we've got the logs sunk into this concrete. So this is very much a traditional style cabin build, and I really like how it looks. So we use these East Asian log pieces, which are just wide enough to go through both sides of it. And then we use the stained wood panels as the floor. Now, one thing you'll notice is we have an exhibit box here, and this is for a modded species, the red salamander. I believe Scott did this one. I'll try and put a link to the mod in the description. But we've got a very beautiful red salamander, another common species of the southeast. Or I guess I should say a common species of the southeast, like the cougar used to be. Yeah. Very pretty, often kept in captivity, though from what I've heard, they are difficult to keep in captivity for hobbyists. So we've got these misters set to keep everything humid and cool, because salamanders, unlike a lot of other reptiles and amphibians, like to keep areas cool and humid. So we want to make sure that they have that proper temperature and humidity. So this is probably the highlight of this build, and that is the downstairs viewing. This is a very modern style viewing, and we can see things like the cougar feeding and keeper talks, so that guests can see what the animal is active. Because here's the thing also, cougars are pretty reclusive animals, so we wanted a lot of hiding areas, obviously a backstage area so that they don't have to be on exhibit all the time, and then just lots of climbing as well. So this is some education that I built with just 2D font pieces and 2D font pieces, and then the new LED pieces. And then using 2D font pieces to make these dots on the window to make the birds not fly into the windows. We used some metal base plates and Indonesian stained timbers. And then, oh, I hopped straight through. We'll talk about the interior later. I believe these metal beams, yeah, these are the LED strips again. And use that just to cover the join between the metal and the glass. And I did use rebuild to use one of those sloped pieces there to make that join work. And so you get a really nice, not 360, but a 180 degree view. And we can see the cougar right here sleeping by its scratching tree. Because I don't know if you can see it, but a scratching post hidden in that tree. And the cougar really likes to use it. We'll talk about the foliage inside the enclosure in a little bit, but let's get into some species that we also keep here. This is meant to be an amphibian house, and the cougar is kind of just what gets you into the amphibian house. So we have two amphibians here, the long-tailed salamander, which is a cave species of salamander from northern Alabama. It might range onto Georgia as well, but primarily Tennessee. And so we created this habitat with some of the Zen gravel pieces you can find on the workshop, some thick glass pieces, and then stalactites to form this cave, along with some rock cladding. The eastern tiger salamander is a larger species of salamander that's protected across its range. And here we have a very kind of standard rock background with some moss. Again, we want to keep it humid and cool. And then these are all custom signs made by the LED pack and the edible signs. Then the Alabama water dog is in here. This is an aquatic species of salamander, similar to an axolotl, but pretty common across the southeast, though the Alabama water dog itself is an endangered species. There are other water dogs that are more common, like the common mud puppy. So we have an endangered salamander kept here. Just a reminder, this is in ZSU, so I have to get these animals through trades or through just different... trying to get up this stairwell, which is all custom made using the null paths from the fence mod, or the path mod. And then up here, we didn't have East Asian pieces small enough, so I used this round Indonesian steamed timber pole, which works pretty well. And then this is the viewing porch kind of area. I wanted this to feel like a house, and so you could just go out onto the porch almost. There's a few things a little wonky with the roof that I'll need to fix. Like, I don't know why this is the way that it is. but that's all stuff I can work on later. You can see the cougar down here, and you get a really nice view of the habitat. This is pretty much by far my favorite habitat that I've built. I think the views on it are pretty great. I think the planting on it is pretty accurate to what you'd see in the region of North Georgia, North Alabama, areas of North Carolina. And so while we're getting to the northern parts of the range of our zoo species representation, it's still, I think, pretty cool. So, unfortunately, the guest can't use most of this inside area. Something went wrong with the pathing, and I can't fix it. Maybe I'll be able to fix it in a bit at some point. But let's get into it. So again, we've got these cecropia trees acting as rhododendron. You just got to really sink them down. Lots of these Scots pine, right? Yeah. So some of them is scratching post, some of them not. I think this one, no. So I think this is a scratching post that the animal can actually use, but I haven't seen it. But this Scots pine is meant to represent slash pine, which is pretty common in the southeast, especially in these kind of more mountainous regions. And then here we have this rotation line feeder to get the animal closer to the guest. So this would be feeding time. The staff would hang something here and the cougar would come up to the glass. I covered a lot of the signage that's on the other side with this tropical bark panels. I try to use as few modded pieces as possible, so a lot of this is very much stuff you can do. The pathing, of course, might be a little weird, so you might need to make this a little bit bigger. But here we have our vernal pool. So the thing is that salamanders and frogs like to breed in these small rainwater pools formed during the spring, where it's cool and they're relatively safe from fish predators. Lots of lady ferns and bracken in here, and a lot of moss, because the areas that we're looking at is the temperate rainforest of North Alabama, Georgia, and North Carolina. So it is actually a rainforest, so we wanted to make it very lush, but I wanted to make sure it also didn't look like a tropical rainforest, because we are using cecropia trees, even if it's not their intended purpose. And so that's where the lady ferns, the bracken, and just some of the tree choices really come in to make sure you know that this is not a tropical rainforest, this is a temperate rainforest. That's also where we go in our second tier. We get a lot of buffalo grass, and this is because you do get a lot of those grassland type areas that form on sort of highland part. So wanted to put some representation of that, including this rock slide area here. Again, this rock wall covering the backstage area is mainly faux rock pieces, some of them recolored, with some moss to break up the very plain gray. Up here, you've got no real plants besides some moss, and you've got just some nice rock work up here, and then lots of climbing things, even though with Planet Zoo Plus, this habitat works pretty well for the cougar. I can't say that it would work spectacularly for them in actual Planet Zoo. Traversable terrain for the cat species is unfortunately not great in Planet Zoo. So let's look at it from a little bit of an aerial area. So we use this slate roof. I think it looks pretty close to what you would actually see in cabin areas. And I've really enjoyed building this. Besides the mesh. The mesh was a pain in the butt. But you definitely can see that it looks good. We've got a planted roof with grasses on top there. So I think this gives the effect, if we come over here, this really gives the effect of a real enclosure. Now, I have heard people say that it's pretty big for a cougar habitat, and that is true. But for our zoo, we're not going to have a lot of big ticket species. So for us, the cougar is our big ticket species. So I think a larger enclosure is warranted. And it's definitely something I have enjoyed a lot building. I think that's all I have here. Also, I really like this path. Obviously, the surrounding area needs work, to say it lightly. I'm trying to think of what species we may want here, because I think a species over here would make a lot of sense. But, so let me know in the comments what species you'd like to see there. So I've got 3 things I really want to hear from you in the comments. Or 4, really. 1, how did you like this enclosure? And should I try to put it on the workshop, even though it won't work for you unless you have Planet Zoo Plus, because the animal won't be able to use this? What animal should I put in an enclosure here? Take in mind that we're probably thinking Appalachian themed. What should the name of our cougar be? Oh, and I am using the cougar remaster mod, in case that wasn't obvious. Very pretty. So what should be the name of our female cougar? I don't know why she's hungry. And then, what should be the name? It's plastered onto such and such vernal pools. So it will be some person's name and then vernal pools after that. And we'll probably have some banners going along here as well with that. But that's all I have for today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, go ahead and like. I don't think y'all are able to hype. I think it requires me to have 500 subscribers, but if it is possible for you to hype the video with YouTube's new feature, go ahead and please do that. That would really help out. Go ahead and leave those comments down in the description, whichever ones you're most interested in. And yeah, I'm going to see y'all later. Let me know how you enjoy this new format. I think it's a little bit more fun. It means I don't have to have as much stuff recorded, and it feels a little bit more organic to me than a speed build, and gets you into some cinematic shots, which you're about to get to sooner. So I'll see y'all later, guys, and goodbye.
Penose Salamander Habitat.